Thanks, Joan, and good morning to all. So Parag's talk has inspired me to try to channel my inner TED Talk and stay here at the center stage for my presentation. Now, all of my speechwriters and handholders are having conniptions right now. We'll be having dinner by the time he finishes. But I did want to stay here for a moment and soak up this moment that is reflected in this symposium. I'm also known a little bit for taking risks occasionally. I encourage those on my team, and so I thought I'd take one now. I searched every, good speech, great speech book you can find, went on YouTube and said, how do you knock it dead? None of them said, use a government position description. It's over here. So this is my position description as the director of NGA. Oh, my staff is going nuts. He's not going to do this. But it really only says three things. Direct NGA, lead the Geospatial-Intelligence community of the US government, and give a keynote speech at GEOINT Symposium. Which I'll do in 1 second. But this symposium is very personal for me. I had the good fortune of being with Jim Clapper and Joanne Isham and the rest of the NEMA, because we were NEMA at the time, leadership team as Jim took us down to Camp Perry for an offsite 3 months after 9/11. And as we huddled for warmth in that cold winter, Jim led us to this term and this idea called geospatial intelligence. We weren't quite sure what it was, how to pronounce it. Can you combine it into GEOINT? Is it GEINT? What is it? But we believed. Jim also rallied us around a new vision for our agency and our purpose, and it was know the earth and show the way. Tish rightfully added, understand the world. And those resonate today. 3 months after that event, I was out at another symposium, this one the Space Symposium in Colorado Springs. And I remember being at one of those networking events that Jeff mentioned. It was kind of in the wee hours of the morning, right? And Stu Shea and I were in a room, and somebody turned over a cocktail napkin because they were being served and started to sketch out an idea, a bare bones idea of what we're seeing here today. So for me, this is tremendously rewarding. And it isn't just the technologies, it isn't just the demonstrations, it certainly isn't just the keynotes, good gracious. It's the conversations, it's the relationships. And so for all of that, I'm very grateful to Keith and to Jeff and for everyone for keeping this going. This is an amazing gift to all of us. And as I move to the podium to give what I'm supposed to give, because it's in my position description, please join me in another round of applause for Parag's outstanding and inspirational presentation. That was just great. And I'm sure, Parag, all of us here in this room are willing to take on the challenges that you laid out yourself. Oh, by the way, what I did find in those books on great speeches, right, it did say that it's okay to lean on the this day in history crutch, right? You just go back into Google and you look and you find out, well, geez, I wonder if anything happened of interest on the 16th of May. And as you just heard in Parag's talk, the actual Sykes-Picot Agreement was signed in secret, albeit, on the 16th of May, 1916, 100 years ago today. Now, the book went on to say, by the way, it says, by the way, don't bring up historic dates if there could be any political controversy around them or disagreement or turmoil or confusion. What the heck is a Sykes and what the heck is a Picot? But I blew through that part of the recommendation to bring up the analogy for this reason. We can have many debates about the effect of that agreement. We should have no debate, okay, about the misunderstanding of human geography and the effect that that misunderstanding carries forward to today. So I have a suggestion that we turn, at least informally, the 16th of May into Human Geography Day. Not to look back on mistakes that we've made, but to look forward on what we could do with this geospatial information, with this service, and with this profession. Now, last year I stood in front of you and I told you where I intended to take Team GEOINT. We released our new NGA strategy. And I asked you then to hold me accountable over this next year for our progress. So I do need to hear from you. We'll get some of that in questions, and we'll get more of that as we extend through the conference. But first, I want to give you my assessment of our implementation of this strategy that we unveiled last year. Now, we've not changed our focus areas, people, partners, profession, and values. We've not changed our goals. And we are driven to deliver. Now, the agency I'm privileged to lead celebrates a major anniversary this fall. It's been a remarkable 20 years from NEMA stand-up to NGA transformation to GEOINT revolution. And I can proudly and confidently say that GEOINT is on the rise, more relevant than ever today, and more poised for a tomorrow that's filled with possibilities. Now, I'd like to draw on another anniversary for context and inspiration. 75 years ago, the Mount Rushmore National Memorial was dedicated in the Black Hills of South Dakota. It was a phenomenal achievement of art and science, resulting in an iconic memorial to 4 great Americans: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt. So let's use these 4 remarkable Americans as a framework to look at our progress against the 4 elements of our strategy. And let's start with value, and our first president, George Washington. In addition to his other accomplishments, the GEOINT profession can claim him as one of our own, since he was a surveyor, a map maker, and a spy master. Thus, in the IPO that we launched on the 4th of July, 1776, he is our employee number 1. That worked better than we thought. It was good. There's hope. Now, enabling customer success is what compels us and what impels us every day. We're driven forward by our fear of failing them. They, you, are our priority, our reason for being. Our GEOINT services is our focal point for this mindset. This critical effort is championed by Justin Poole and led by Jim Long and Ben Tuttle. It spans all security domains, and most importantly, it's open-ended. We're smashing the false boundary conditions that have always separated tasking, processing, exploitation, and dissemination. In other words, GEOINT services replaces the transactional and outdated TPED mindset. Working closely with the Open Geospatial Consortium and our CEO and president, Mark Reichert, our partner for more than 2 decades, Ben and Jim are using standardized and interoperable strategies to maximize mission impact. Under the leadership of Shishu Gupta, we will be all in the cloud by the end of 2017, presenting value on all domains, including the World Wide Web. I further challenge Team NGA to succeed in the open. To do so, we must reject outdated ideas about the value of open source data. We must overcome our historic reluctance to allow analysts to engage externally. We must embrace the imperative to release appropriate information on our unclassified network. We must do all of this. We must do it smartly, and we will. Let me clear up any confusion there may be around this drive to the open. We will go wherever the data exists and apply it wherever the mission demands. That means, of course, that we'll continue to value classified information. With our mission partner, the NRO, we will deliver game-changing, unique capabilities around the clock and across the spectrum. Now, how can you help us improve our value? For example, we need you to gamify the technologies, the platforms, the solutions that you deliver in a way that we can quantify our tradecraft. Make our work a constructive competition to bring out the best collaboration and thus the best intelligence. We must enrich our customer relationships by delivering innovative interfaces. Whether it's through chatbot-enabled virtual assistants, next-gen customer relationship management, or other innovative ideas that I can't see, but I bet you can. And offer us more trial accounts and API keys. Being able to test drive the car using real mission data will help us accelerate the contractual conversation to tangible results. Many of our Pathfinder 2 partners offered us such test drives in Pathfinder 1. Next, to illustrate our profession, let's turn to Thomas Jefferson. He was an expert in many fields: architecture, land survey, linguistics, to name but a few. Important in our history, he commissioned the Lewis and Clark expedition and created one of the first cipher systems to transmit coded information in advance of the Louisiana Purchase, when the expedition was a covert mapping mission. Because for Jefferson, mapping was, as it is today, an intelligence activity. In looking at our professions, we've made progress on 5 fronts. First, we've overhauled how we think about and shape the future. 3 months ago, we launched NGA Research, led by Dr. Peter Heinem. Some of you were fortunate enough to hear Peter speak yesterday. NGA Research builds on tech talent, ingenuity, and expertise from national labs, universities, and businesses. It moves us away from internal research and allows us to deliver more minds-on tasks, bringing fresh ideas, innovative research techniques, and path-breaking science. Second, we plan to leave our desks and engage our partners where they are. This summer, we'll go to the geographic heart of American innovation, Silicon Valley, and create a presence there that we'll call the NGA Outpost Valley. This NOV will leverage the organic capabilities and energy of the Valley's open, vibrant, and geospatial community. It's a beachhead that will have the authority to reach out to all innovation centers. For example, we're jumping in with both feet into the Cortex innovation community in St. Louis, a growing new hub of tech development. In other words, we'll go wherever necessary to create the service that the world demands and our customers deserve. The third way to advance our profession is to rededicate ourselves to excellence in our craft, to include the standards that will create a community. Our GEOINT professional certification program is now mandated at NGA and for the services. Even the director has to be certified. # I passed. Okay. Since the program began in 2013, we've awarded more than 6,000 certifications. 20% of those have gone to those outside of NGA, to our teammates in the services. Now, what about our colleagues in industry? Jeff spoke this morning about our growing partnership with USGIF. And we're proud and pleased to be able to announce this major milestone of our intent to functionally recognize the equivalence between our 2 respective certifications, to provide the parity and equivalence across certification programs, the portable transportability, to build a true profession. Now, we're so convinced of the power of achieving this functional equivalency that we'll take on the bureaucratic challenges, and there will be, to deliver this capability. We're not confused about the difficulty, but we are motivated to make it so. Fourth, it's critical that we transition to an object-based production environment. OBP creates a new and necessary way to create intelligence value, championed by Gary Dunow and led by Skip Crakey and Dr. Mike Foster. OBP extracts the important information from the frame of an image to produce intelligence that's more clear, more relevant, and more useful. We began transitioning to OBP 4 months ago, and that includes the conditioning, standardization, and migration of data into a structured observation management, or SOM, framework. Now, SOM and OBP are the fundamental building blocks of activity-based intelligence, and thanks to ABI, we'll automate manually intensive workflows so we can detect patterns and behaviors hidden in the noise today. That's necessary given the exciting increases in commercial data and open sources. As we move from imaging a small percentage of the Earth each day to sensing all of it every day. As SOM, OBP, and ABI come into full practice by the next GEOINT symposium, I can envision a work unit that includes analysts, human geographers, geospatial information specialists, web developers, and data scientists in the same virtual and virtuous room, creating that elusive but necessary coherence from chaos. Finally, improving our profession means committing to the use of innovative capabilities being developed by commercial data providers and analytic companies for mission accomplishment. Our commercial space partners will provide meaningful higher revisit capabilities this year, and we look forward to turning their exciting potential into our mission reality. We're well aware of the need to change how we procure both data and services. An important example of this change is in our CYBORG program. CYBORG, one of the best acronyms ever, stands for Commercial Initiative to buy operationally responsive GEOINT. It's a partnership with GSA to leverage their schedules and contractual instruments to purchase commercial GEOINT data and services. And Cyborg will be operational by early 2017. Now, how can you help improve our profession? Like many, we need help with big data analysis. In this fiscal year, NGA has contributed nearly 4 million elements of analytic content to the vast sea of human knowledge. We have holdings of more than 20 million intelligence observations, with hundreds of thousands more coming every month. And add that to the billion of data points and elements in Foundation GEOINT, and you quickly realize how big our data challenge is. So we must have tools and techniques to allow us to quickly make sense of this data, then visualize and disseminate that clarity to our customers. We don't just need pixels. Offer us subscriptions that will provide us alerts, observations, and insights that will meld with our own to drive deeper analysis of all that incoming data and lead to more meaningful conclusions. For industry and academia, take full advantage of the road to professionalization offered by USGIF GEOINT certifications. We'd like industry and universities to jointly accelerate and strengthen science with us to create, test, and transition world-leading capabilities into NGA. Now I'm going to pivot to our partners. President Roosevelt is known for negotiating the end of the Russo-Japanese War, for which earned him a Nobel Peace Prize, and for deploying the US Navy to circumnavigate the planet. He was the first president to put the United States on the global stage, which is the very essence of GEOINT. He's less well known for radically transforming the New York Police Department, fighting corruption, reducing political appointments, and implementing new standards for recruits. As police commissioner, he actually walked a beat late at night and early in the morning. He believed that the NYPD should be true, trusted partners dedicated to those that they protect and serve. NGA can only be great when we nurture and invest in our partners every step of the way. We must build trust. We must walk every beat with Team GEOINT. We're indebted to our international partners in so many ways. The United Kingdom has integrated its aeronautic safety of navigation content into our database, a success we've now replicated across the Commonwealth and want to replicate with other international partners. Our partnership with Germany has led to an alliance of more than 30 nations to create a digital elevation model from data collected by TandemX. This is a really big deal. It improves spacing from 30 meters to 12, and it covers the entire globe. In 3 years, more than a third of the Earth's surface, including the parts we're most concerned about, will be mapped and shared at this higher resolution. It will save time, and it will save lives. Now, we're only truly great when we team properly, which is why I take my responsibility as the GEOINT functional manager so seriously. We've reinvigorated our GEOINT committee, or GEOCOM, to work together with our NSG partners. Dustin Gard-Weiss, on loan from the Navy, leads my functional management organization. For the first time, we've reached outside of NGA for this critical responsibility. We have a new community NSG strategy. Copies are available at the NSG booth, right next to our NGA exhibit. One example of a great partner is the Army Geospatial Center and its director, Dr. Joe Fontanella. The center's leadership on local terrain data will only become more important to our collective success as the urbanization that Dr. Khanna spoke about unfolds before our eyes. Another great example is Dr. Lee Schwartz from the State Department, the geographer of the United States, or as I like to call him, GOTUS. Like POTUS. You know, when you're explaining material, you know you're in trouble, right? Oh, back to Lee. Okay, so we're developing a strong partnership with Lee and his team, mapping what are called secondary cities through open participatory mapping engagements with local teams and partner nations. We've also created superb connections to federal agencies. In collaboration with the White House, we've partnered with the National Science Foundation, the U.S. Geological Survey, the Polar Geospatial Center at the University of Minnesota, and other members of the academic research community and private sector to create the first ever high-resolution elevation map of Alaska. It will come out this summer, and it'll be posted on the World Wide Web. And we'll create a digital elevation model of the entire Arctic by mid-2017. Our traditional industry partners remain important, and as the GEOINT revolution unfolds, we're fortunate to witness a daily proliferation of new commercial GEOINT technologies and data sources. I encourage each of you to walk the exhibit hall this afternoon, as I will do, and not be amazed by all the technology and innovation that's at our fingertips. A revolution is afoot. It's here now, and it's out on that conference floor. To put our money where our mouth is, we've doubled our In-Q-Tel investment to improve our effectiveness in areas like commercial space, visualization, and cybersecurity. I also want to highlight GSM, or GEOINT Solutions Marketplace. In recent months, we've worked with USGIF to integrate the functionality of their Industry Solutions Marketplace, ISM, with our GSM. The combined result is called GSM 2.0. USGIF runs the platform, and we manage and adjudicate every submission that's intended for NGA. We've put Dave Kackner in charge of GSM 2.0 for us, and if you don't know Dave, you should. My trusted partner and Deputy Director, Sue Gordon, and I have charged Dave to remove obstacles within our agency and to rapidly integrate new capabilities. Dave and his team will provide you with timely, systemic, and frank feedback to your submissions. Where can you help? Well, we need flexible, secure technology solutions that lets us exchange information between countries on classified and unclassified domains while safeguarding sources and methods. Imagine international networks like the Commonwealth Stone Ghost or NATO's BICES able to interact seamlessly with the IC's modernized IT infrastructure. Include robust identity and access management features to allow participants to set rules on what they share and with whom. And we need you to bring ideas to optimize our contract and acquisition process. We're working hard on this. Sue will discuss this effort in detail in the Government Pavilion Wednesday afternoon. We know that you have thoughts on how to make things easier for everybody, and we do welcome your input. Now let's address the most crucial part of our strategy, our people. Abraham Lincoln was a surveyor in Illinois and a first mate on a Mississippi River flatboat. But we seek to emulate his actions as president when he united people around a goal to serve a purpose higher than themselves. So how are we doing? Like all of you, we're in competition for the brightest minds and the best skills to propel the GEOINT mission. To our advantage, it's very competitive to join Team NGA. Last year, we received nearly 17,000 applications and hired 256. That's about a 1.5% acceptance rate. Now, I love how selective we are to get the best talent, but we must increase our hiring. Even doubling that number this year would not be enough for what our mission needs and deserves. And our people processes need to adopt and align to meet the expectations of our teammates. And this is not just about bringing in new talent, it's about growing and unleashing their potential. All of us struggle with the clearance process and the length of time it takes to bring in new people. We miss opportunities because of it, and so we're doing something about it. We recently hired 27 new aero and maritime analysts, and we got them to work and thus got them to the mission as the clearance process continued. And we'll scale this best practice. We've also modernized how our people professionally develop with what we call on-demand, or OD squared. By changing the focus from instructor-centric to learner-centric, we've increased our web-based learning results by almost 300% this past year. And now we've opened up our course catalog to the Commonwealth and extended invitations to British, Australian, and New Zealand instructors to become adjuncts at our college. And we strive to open up all of our courses to all of our partners. One of the best things about being NGA director is after I meet a new teammate, I ask about their personal story. After all, we're a storytelling agency, and fortunately, we have some great ones. Matt Bain used to work at DreamWorks, entertaining children with the latest visual technology. Now Matt uses his 3D animation skills to enable more compelling NGA assessments. Navjeet Sheena came to NGA from the Corcoran Gallery. Now Navjeet uses his design expertise to lead our wireless tablet interactive development. As an Egyptian archaeologist, Dr. Josh Trompier used declassified corona imagery to make discoveries in the Nile Delta. Now Josh is in our research directorate creating applications to uncover subtle threats across the globe. Now, while I expect this audience would not confuse our intelligence reports with great literature, we now have an editor, Amelia Cohen-Levy, with a master in fine arts and poetry. So there is hope. And by the way, Amelia is a contractor, and we simply could not do our jobs without them. And our own Dr. Stacy Dixon, who's on a joint duty assignment as the Deputy Director of IARPA. Stacy studied the pressure of arteries and blood vessels, the circulatory system that has parallels with traffic and migration patterns, literally human geography. I wish I had time to acknowledge all those who have received awards and recognition, but I do want to mention 4 teammates named to the prestigious Federal 100, the top tier in government who work in the technology field. Sue Gordon was on that list. No surprise there. But so were Bruce Farnham, Mitch Smoot, and Ray Bauer. President Obama recently recognized a group of extraordinary early career scientists. 6 of those scientists were from the intelligence community. 2 of those 6 were from NGA, Dr. Ashley Holt and Dr. Whitney Emsch. Now, how cool is that? So what's next? The NGA Geospatial Exchange, or NGAGE for short. It will offer our people immersive experiences with industry and academia, and will also allow us to welcome outside talent into NGA. Our first candidate under NGAGE is due to start work this week at NGA Research. Dr. Kathy Cattell comes to us with experience from both industry and IARPA. How can you help when it comes to our people? Engage talent with us. Reach out to the opportunities through a new Engage initiative that I just spoke about. You can easily find it on our unclassified website, nga.mil. Help us to identify the best universities for what we all do and support their efforts to become NGA-designated schools for the geospatial sciences. The application period opens in July, and again on nga.mil. So that's my rundown on our progress over the last year, along with a few highlights about what's to come and where we need your help. Some of the trend lines are mixed, but most are favorable. And while we certainly have space to grow, the future holds a great deal of promise, and there are a lot of reasons to be bullish on Team GEOINT. Not far from our headquarters, the Jefferson Memorial sits on the tidal basin in Washington, D.C. On the other side of that tidal basin is the newest memorial in our capital, a 30-foot granite statue of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Dr. King understood the power of geospatial language when it comes to progress. He had a dream that valleys would be exalted and hills made low. He sought an oasis in a desert that sweltered with the heat of injustice. And he said that there are mountains that we must move out of if we are to go forward in our world. And if civilization is to survive, we must keep moving. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. Now, we've all experienced different journeys in this geospatial intelligence field. Some of us started on light tables and experienced the amazing transition to digital. Some of us came on board at the end of the Cold War and marveled at the advent of GPS. Some of us began at the same time as the explosion of the open source data. But now all of us recognize that government no longer drives this revolution alone. So we're here today together for a reason. We can see the future, we can feel it, and together we must deliver it. Now, 20 years after the creation of NEMA, we're experiencing a new age of GEOINT. We must go wherever the data, technology, and people exist and apply that knowledge wherever the customers demand. We must let go of any remnants of ownership and embrace our stewardship of the profession. We must enable outcomes that are bigger than ourselves. And if we do these things, and if we do them together, we can actually make this planet a better place to live. So shoulder to shoulder, let's step up to this critical challenge. Let's step into this opportunity, and let's step out on the wonderful future that's ahead of us. Now, that's my view of the future, but I'd like to share with you a few others.
We have historically been more risk averse than many of our industry partners. So it's time that we make a change. It's time that we take risks.
Risk-taking is exactly where the creative juices come on innovation.
It allows us to really push the envelope. It gives us an opportunity to try things that we've never tried before.
It forces them to think about the problem in a new way and to think of solutions that they might not have thought of previously.
We actually have to push the envelope a little bit. And I think some of the programs that NGA has taken on in recent years tries to get that balance right. Caution where we need it, risk-taking where we need it.
In order for that to happen as a regular event where employees feel comfortable taking a risk requires top cover from leadership.
We have to reward people who take risks, because if we don't take risk, we don't allow ourselves to make mistakes. And with mistakes, we have lessons learned from that.
It is our job to take risks and to step outside the box and make assessments and provide our decision makers and warfighters with the information that could save a life.
NGA has some inherent advantages that enable it to be transparent and thus the leader for it in the IC.
We do a lot of disaster response, we work with the public, we crowdsource, we have a public-facing website, and without transparency, you're not going to have any of that.
Transparency is important because it builds trust. Trust with our fellow USG partners, our foreign partners.
Our contractors and even commercial partners, and even our foreign partners, they can understand what our mission is much more clearly when we're very upfront with it.
I think it's really important for us to be able to demonstrate that we can be open, that it's something that's beneficial for the American people, and that they can come here and be comfortable working knowing that they're doing something that's good.
That ability for NGA to collaborate with new partners across the NGO community, government agencies, the commercial sector, and academia is really a powerful dynamic, harnessing transparency for the greater good.
The past 10 years, there's been an explosion of people can use GEOINT on their smartphone, people can use GEOINT on their iPad.
On every desktop, in every GPS system, in every car, on every watch.
New alternatives, new technologies, new capabilities that we'd never had thought of before.
It's so omnipresent. People are volunteering information.
Technology is changing, attitudes are changing, imagery is everywhere.
Everyone's doing it, whether you realize it or not.
Future GEOINT, you're not even really going to tell that it's there. You know it's going to be everywhere, but you can't differentiate the difference between GEOINT and some other int. It's just going to be so integrated with everything.
We all start with a geospatial reference as to where things are and where things are moving. And so there will always be a place for NGA and as the institutional manifestation of geospatial intelligence.
I don't know about you, but I could feel the energy and the enthusiasm coming off that screen. It's real, it's tangible, it's rock solid. A lot like that hill, that mountain in the hills of the Black Hills of South Dakota. Let me circle back to that trip to Camp Perry some 15 years ago. You know, what is this GEOINT thing? Well, for me, it's very personal. We do know the Earth. That's our foundation. We do show the way. That's our navigation. And we will continue to provide those that depend on us a better understanding of their world. So summed up, what is GEOINT? It is our profession, it is our purpose, and it is our pride. Thank you very much.
Great presentation, Robert. Thank you very much. You are known for giving very complete answers to questions. Now, that might work on the Hill, and in fact, it's a good tactic when you're briefing Congress, not so much at GEOINT. So we're going to do a lightning round.
All right.
And you're going to hear this if you go too long, because I want to get through as many of these questions as possible. You mentioned that you wanted to be all in the cloud by 2017. What does that mean to be all in, and how do you protect classified data from migrating to unclassified clouds?
So it means what it says, Joan.
Okay, keep going.
So two things. One, do join Sue and her merry band this week in the GEOINT Pavilion to get a much more fulsome answer to that. But we're going to embrace the opportunity. And so what we're asking you to do is to give us the applications and the ability to do that so that we can take full advantage of the cloud technology. And again, we'll do it in the next 18 months. And obviously, we'll do it smartly. Sue's often fond of saying, just because I told you to do it by this date doesn't allow you to do dumb things, okay? So, which is, again, Joan, part of our ask. Help us with those identity management, right? And assured access so that you can know who and what you're sharing with when.
Okay, great, thank you. You also referenced the GEOINT Pathfinder initiative, and you said that it works. Can you elaborate on that? What works?
So I invite you to join us online. Everything that we're doing in the Pathfinder 2 now is available. But and you'll find specific technical solutions and a little contractual innovation and an adaptation of a use of an open source service. For me, what's most important about Pathfinder 2 is the mentality, right? That you can embrace, you can engage, you can dive in, and you can succeed. Now, this is not a competition, and I'll say this as I've often said before, there is no such thing as Pathfinder success in isolation. We only succeed when we take the lessons we learn and we apply them in the enterprise.
Okay, great. Do you know when Pathfinder 3, will there be a Pathfinder 3 and when it will start?
There will be a Pathfinder 3. I'm also, I don't need to host Pathfinder 3. I would love to have a partner host Pathfinder 3 to include my international partners. I offered that opportunity to them last week. I think the sooner we break it, okay, from it's from this room or it's hosted by this agency, the better for all of us.
Okay. What prompted the restructuring for NGA research?
So, look, I was present at the creation there as well when we stood up Innovision, and I think I saw Rob around here somewhere, and some of the other people that helped us get off to a really great start. What we tried to do, and the charge we gave to Peter, Dr. Peter Heinem, was to take the innate capability that we had, but to find the connections outside. So everything we're doing wonderfully internally, find a connection to that externally. And so I tried to change the name to Exovision. That didn't go over very well. So we went with just plain old research.
All right, great.
How am I doing?
You're doing well. You're very fast.
Yeah.
You referenced gamify. What do you mean by gamify, and how will that benefit NGA or your customers?
Yeah, well, I'll say at the outset, I don't really know, okay? That's not my specialty. That said, what I want to do is I'm a big believer that people don't come to work in the morning and say, oh, I can't wait to duplicate so-and-so's effort, or I can't wait to, go over the same material that was just covered at another agency or company. The reason they do that is because they have to. They're either locked out technically or infrastructure or policy-wise. When I hear gamify, I hear market, and oh, your assumption? Oh, I don't see it the same way. I get to challenge that assumption. Okay, then now we have two people over here. Well, you've just modeled the adversarial behavior to say these three things are necessary for that fourth thing to occur. Well, I challenge that by offering you a different model. And so if that results, if that competition, if that game creates more of that interaction, I'm all for it.
Okay. You referenced Cyborg, and it is a great acronym. How will it change how NGA utilizes commercial imagery?
Once again, I think it's a good Wednesday chat to get better specifics. But as I understand it, it gets us to use the flexibility, okay, and the adaptability of GSA in a way that we haven't before. So my expectation is that quicker and easier movement from idea to recognition through award. Wednesday, 12:30, Government Pavilion.
Great. Related question to one that Secretary Letcher got around how NGA will integrate Silicon Valley technology into the organization and the timeline. How do you anticipate changing acquisition policies, or do you think it's necessary to change them as you integrate?
We're supposed to stop it. Just how are you going to use the Silicon Valley innovation and excitement and all that? Really? So my boss gave the perfect answer. That's all I can say, right? So there's no way I could possibly improve on that. Can I speak a little bit about Silicon Valley?
Yes.
Okay. So look, this is, again, my awesome deputy's idea and energy enthusiasm. And oh, by the way, a long history with In-Q-Tel and familiarity with that world. So we're going to dive in. We're well aware, okay, that Silicon Valley is not the only place on the planet that's doing innovative and cool things. We get that. So one reason why I mentioned what we're doing in St. Louis right now. And we're open to any and all solutions. I was serious. We'll go where the data, in this case where the technology exists, and we'll apply it where it needs to be. But we do expect to learn, and with Ben's vibrant, enthusiastic, knows no barrier kind of mindset, we're excited about what we'll learn.
Okay.
See how I avoided the acquisition question?
I think this question came from somebody who tracks very closely what NGA is doing specifically around elevation maps. When can we expect the satellite-based elevation map of Alaska and the Arctic? Will it be interactive and available in different languages?
Well, I know when. Alaska will be available this summer, okay, and the Arctic will be available next year. You mean like computer languages, or you mean Spanish?
Somebody raised their hand who asked this question? No, I'm not.
I don't know. I
what
wouldn't
would you
know.
like
Even
to
if you knew the
answer?
answer to that, I wouldn't know. So, but look, the reason we're putting it on the web is very purposeful, right? We want to share it broadly, and as much as we get back, we've had great experience with GitHub, we've had great experience with the open source enterprise, and so for us, this is, I mean, we want to make it as useful as possible. If putting it out in multiple languages is helpful, then we'll look to see if we can do that.
Okay. You mentioned in your talk that NGA has doubled its investment into In-Q-Tel. What have you gotten in terms of return on that investment, and what actually is the amount of that investment?
What's the last part?
What's the amount? You doubled it. How much is that? It says right here.
Upwards of?
10 million.
Well, upwards of $10 million. Okay, thank you, Sue. Again, we have a long history, and with our good friend, Chris Darby out there now. For me, it's, it creates connective tissue where it didn't exist before. And when we can find an idea and perhaps, help germinate that idea in a way that could, come into the enterprise or be part of a specific solution set, I think we're all to the gain. But again, that's one avenue of many, and we're not locked into, a particular solution. You're running out of questions, aren't you?
I am running out of questions. Prerogative of the MC, the last question is mine. NGA does a bring up for security clearances for any contractors who have gotten their clearance 2 years or more prior to going to work at NGA, even though the reinvestigation timeline is 5 years. We understand that you do find discrepancies and you get data that is worthwhile from a personnel security standpoint. However, those employees, even though they're fully cleared, can't go to work until after you have conducted the 2-year bring up. Would you consider, take back and talk to your security staff and consider allowing those fully cleared, within scope individuals to go to work while you do the bring up, as you do for government employees?
Is this a personal question?
It is a personal question, yes.
You're having a little issue, are you?
Yeah.
So much for the honorable, Yes, of course.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Director Cardillo. That's great, Robert, thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
Appreciate it.